They say monsters hide under your bed. But what happens when the monster sleeps in the next room? What happens when the man your mother loves, the one she says saved your family, is the same man you pray never walks into your room at night? My name is Amara. And this is not just a story. This is a warning. A confession. A memory wrapped in silence and soaked in fear. But it's also a reckoning. Because he thought I would stay quiet. He thought fear would keep me weak. He thought his secrets would die behind locked doors. But secrets like his don't die. They rot. They spread. And eventually, they burn. This is the story of how I went from victim to vengeance. And how the man who called himself my protector became the name I will never stop exposing. Let me take you back to where it all began. The rain that day felt heavier than usual. Like the sky was trying to say something. I was 14. Cold. Tired. Alone. When Rick pulled up beside me, I felt a strange sense of relief. He wasn't my father. But for a while, he made me feel like I had one again. I hesitated. Just a bit. But I got in. And that tiny moment of doubt. I wish I'd listened to it. He asked if I was okay, said I looked tired. He always asked questions like that. Like he cared. And I, desperate for kindness, mistook it for protection. My mom called him a blessing. A second chance after years of pain. He helped with the bills. Took me to school when she had double shifts. Even remembered my birthday when she forgot. For a while. I thought he was too good to be true. He noticed things about me no one else did. Told me I was gifted. Said I was mature for my age. I thought it was encouragement. I didn't realize it was grooming. It started small. Just wanted to say goodnight. Didn't mean to scare me. He didn't come in. Not that night. But it started a pattern. Late night knocks. Soft voices in dark hallways. Slowly testing the boundaries. And I was too naive to understand the game he was playing. Then came the physical closeness. Movie nights when my mom worked late. Popcorn on the couch. His leg brushing mine. At first, I thought it was an accident, until it wasn't. He never said anything outright. Just quiet looks. Accidental touches. Hugs that lasted too long. All while keeping up his good guy act. My mom adored him. The neighbors praised him. And me? I started to vanish in plain sight. I became quiet. Withdrawn. I stopped drawing. Started eating less. Always locked my bedroom door. The air in the house became thick with silence. He infected everything with his presence. When my mom asked if I was okay, I said I was just tired. I lied so easily. Because it was easier than telling the truth. Because I knew no one would believe me. Not after everything Rick had done for us. I learned early, don't speak unless it's praise. Don't cry unless it's silent. Don't make waves, they'll drown you. When I was 11, I once told my mom a male teacher made me uncomfortable. She yelled. Grounded me for disrespecting authority. That lesson stuck. I started researching things I couldn't put into words. Consent. Boundaries. Grooming. I didn't even know what to call it. All I knew was that I wasn't safe anymore. One day he found a drawing I'd made, abstract figures in shadows, tangled and dark. He asked what it was. I told him it was just art. He laughed, said it was intense, that I had an imagination. I wanted to scream that it wasn't fiction. It was me. It was him. I started sleeping with my shoes on, in case I needed to run. I started keeping a pencil under my pillow. It was the only weapon I had. Every day became a calculation. Where he was. Where I could be. How close. How far. I learned how to disappear in my own home. I mastered the art of silence. On my 15th birthday, he bought me a bracelet. My mom clapped, taking photos. He lingered when placing it on my wrist. I flinched. My mom laughed, told me not to be weird, said he was just being sweet. Sweet. That word haunted me. Sweet like poison. Sweet like rot beneath sugar. He thought he was winning. That I was folding. But the fear was sharpening me. Turning me into something he didn't expect, a witness. A survivor. A recorder of truths. I began journaling everything, dates, words, looks. I created a hidden folder in a secret cloud account. I started planning. That night, he walked past my room. He paused, hand brushing the doorknob. He smiled at me through the crack. I didn't respond. I stared him down through the shadows. And as the door closed, I whispered the words that would carry me through the next year. You'll regret ever touching me. The days after that night felt heavier, like every breath I took was a betrayal of myself. Rick was still around, still pretending, still smiling like nothing was wrong. But I had changed. Inside, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was studying him. I became an observer. I noted everything. What time he left for work. What time he came back. How he looked at me. What he said. How long his hand lingered when he passed me something. I wrote it all down. And the more I wrote, the more I began to feel in control of the chaos he had built around me. But writing wasn't enough. I needed evidence. Proof. Something louder than my voice, because I knew my word alone wouldn't be enough. That's the sick thing about men like him. They build trust in the world around you while they destroy the one inside you. So I became strategic. I found an old phone in a kitchen drawer, one my mom thought was broken. I fixed it. Just enough to use it as a recorder. I learned where to hide it. I learned when to turn it on. Every time he walked into a room when mom wasn't home, the phone was recording. If he even looked at me too long, I made sure that moment lived somewhere outside of my own memory. Then I set up a second layer. A cloud account. Password protected. I uploaded audio, journal pages, anything I could collect. I was done hoping someone would save me. I was building the case to save myself. School became my safe space, until it wasn't. Rick started picking me up more often. Insisting it was helping my mom out. His car became a place I dreaded. That stale smell of air freshener mixed with coffee and something else I couldn't name. I kept the door cracked open every time I got in. Just in case. He started talking more openly, saying things like, "You're growing up fast," or "You don't know how beautiful you're becoming." I learned to freeze my face. Not smile. Not frown. Just blankness. Because any reaction gave him power. Any reaction made him think he was getting in deeper. One day, he said, "I think your mom and I should get married." I nearly threw up. That night, I wrote a letter. Not to the police. Not to my mom. To myself. A promise, if he ever touched me again, really crossed that final line, I would burn him down. But waiting for him to mess up again meant I was still letting him control the timeline. And I was done playing defense. So I changed the game. I started baiting him. Not dangerously. Just enough to catch his patterns. I'd leave my bedroom door slightly ajar and watch from a mirror across the room. Sure enough, within 20 minutes, he'd peek in. I never moved. Never breathed. Just recorded. One night, I left my phone charging in the living room and waited. I watched through the sliver of the hallway. He picked it up. Checked the screen. His eyes scanned my messages. My heart raced. But when he found nothing, he set it back down. I was learning his paranoia. His insecurities. And that made him predictable. Still, I needed more than recordings. More than dates and memories. I needed witnesses. So I told someone. Not an adult. A girl in my art class. Quiet like me. Her name was Jaya. I told her everything. My voice shook. My hands trembled. But I told her. And to my surprise, she didn't run. She didn't judge. She believed me. She said, then we build a case. Like a real one. Let's catch him. With her help, I set up hidden cameras. Old webcams, borrowed equipment, all disguised inside everyday objects. My bedroom. The hallway. The kitchen when Mom wasn't home. I recorded everything. Weeks turned into months. Every click. Every word. Every time he hovered too close. And still, he smiled. Still, he laughed with my mom. Still, he thought he owned the narrative. Until one night, I caught him. On video. His hand reached for my back as I washed dishes. He thought we were alone. My body stiffened. He stepped closer. Then, I spoke. Loudly. Don't. Touch. Me. He froze. I saw the shift in his eyes. The flicker of confusion. Of danger. He backed away. But I knew then, I had him. The next day, I skipped school. I gathered everything. Files. Clips. Journals. Voice notes. The folder was nearly a gigabyte of evidence. I burned it to a flash drive. Made 3 copies. Hid them all in different places. One I gave to Jaya. One I kept. And the third? I mailed. To a lawyer. I didn't know if he'd respond. But I wrote a cover letter. Anonymous, at first. Outlined everything. I made it impossible to ignore. That night, Rick came home early. He looked shaken. Something had spooked him. My mom asked if he was okay. He forced a smile. But I knew. He had received something. And now, he was the one who was scared. There's a strange calm that comes before you burn everything down. Not peace. Not clarity. But a quiet knowing, like the air right before a thunderstorm, where everything is still, but nothing feels safe. I woke up one morning with no appetite for fear. Just purpose. Rick had taken enough of my life. And I was done handing it to him. It began with a decision, no more reacting. From now on, I would act. I knew when he was home and when he wasn't. I knew where he kept his phone, his passwords, his stash of private photos buried in a hidden drive on his laptop. That took me months to confirm, but I did. One file stood out, a locked folder labeled Work Docs. I cracked the password in 2 tries. It was my birthday. Inside were things I couldn't unsee. Photos. Videos. Hidden camera footage. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to look. Not because I wanted to relive the trauma, but because I needed undeniable proof. I needed to burn the mask he wore down to ash. I transferred everything to a secure drive and backed it up in 3 places, 2 clouds and 1 physical encrypted USB. 1 copy was mailed anonymously to a trusted friend who owed me a favor they didn't ask about. Still, collecting evidence wasn't enough. It wouldn't stop him. People like Rick survive exposure unless the narrative is airtight. Ironclad. I needed a story so real, so raw, that even denial would sound like guilt. So, I started documenting my life. Every interaction, every whisper, every movement in the hallway. I wired my room with a microphone hidden in a hollowed-out book. I used an old phone with a cracked screen as a dummy in case he checked on me, and a real one, silently recording, hidden in a tissue box. And slowly, Rick got sloppy. He started entering my room when he thought I was asleep. Whispering things. One night, he sat at the edge of my bed, stroking my hair for 5 long minutes. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. But my phone captured every word he said. Such a beautiful girl. Too bad your mother doesn't appreciate what she has. My fingers dug into my mattress so hard they left crescent moons. The next day, I uploaded the audio. Labeled. Timestamped. Still, I needed a trigger. A breaking point the world would see and not be able to ignore. It came the night he followed me into the garage. I had gone there to scream. To let the rage out where no one could hear. But he must have seen the light flicker under the door. He came in slowly, like a predator in a cage. "You all right, Amara?" he asked, voice dripping with faux concern. I didn't answer. Just stared at the concrete floor. He stepped closer. "You know, you've been distant lately. I think it's time we had a real talk." That's when I hit record. Hidden in my sleeve was a mic. He walked right into my trap. "Talk about what?" I asked. He smiled. "About us." I made my voice small. Vulnerable. "Is there even an US?" "You know there is. I've always protected you." "Is that what you call it?" He stepped too close. His hand brushed my shoulder. "Don't pretend you haven't felt it too." That was the line. The one I knew no jury could ignore. My eyes met his. "You'll regret this." He smirked. "No, sweetheart. You will." But what he didn't know, what he never imagined, was that the moment he left the garage, I sent the audio to my cloud, to the USB, to my friend. To a lawyer I'd researched 3 months prior. A lawyer known for handling trauma cases with vengeance in mind. From there, it was a domino effect. My friend received the full case file and reached out to the lawyer. I scheduled a meeting under a pseudonym. Brought all the evidence, physical and emotional. She listened in silence. Then she looked at me and said, "Are you ready to go public?" I wasn't sure what public meant. Press? Police? A courtroom? No. I meant the internet. The thing about monsters like Rick is they thrive in silence. In shadows. But the internet? That's light. That's noise. That's virality. I created an anonymous YouTube channel. Uploaded a series of videos. Titled them like journal entries. Entry 1, The Knock at Midnight. Entry 2, when the protector became the predator. Each one pieced together my story without revealing names, yet the views started slow. But then a trauma-focused creator shared it. Then a survivor's podcast. Then Reddit. Suddenly, the story exploded. People were outraged. Women reached out. Some knew Rick. Some suspected. One woman messaged me and said she quit a job after feeling unsafe around him years ago. And then I posted the final video. The reveal. His name. His face. The evidence. The recordings. The timeline. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I simply spoke. This is the man who haunted me. Who the world trusted. Who my own mother loved. But he is not who you think he is. And I will no longer protect his reputation at the cost of my life. That video hit 1 million views in under 24 hours. The internet did the rest. People began digging. Sharing. Commenting. News outlets picked it up. Reporters called it a modern-day whistleblow of hidden domestic evil. Hashtags trended. His face was plastered across feeds. Then came the police. They couldn't ignore it anymore. Not with a digital trail, corroborating messages, forensic backups, even metadata tracing video origins. The evidence was airtight. The night he was arrested, I was sitting on my bed, finally drawing again. A phoenix rising through smoke. I watched from the window as they led him away. Cuffed. Silent. No smirk. My mother stood outside crying. Not for me. For him. That broke me more than anything. But I didn't console her. I closed the window. And I let the silence echo through the house. My silence. Except this time, it wasn't a cage. It was freedom. They say healing starts when justice is served. But justice doesn't come in a straight line. It crashes, stumbles, claws its way through silence. And for me, the reckoning wasn't just about Rick, it was about reclaiming everything he tried to erase. The day after his arrest, the house was quiet. Not the terrified silence I'd grown used to, but a vacant, hollow quiet, like the air had finally exhaled. My mother barely looked at me. She sat at the kitchen table, hunched, gripping a mug she never drank from. Her eyes were red, not from sorrow for what I endured, but from disbelief that the man she loved was capable of it. I didn't comfort her. I didn't owe her that anymore. Instead, I moved forward. My lawyer, Cassandra, was relentless. She filed restraining orders, built the criminal case, and helped initiate a civil suit. But more than that, she helped me build my voice. She didn't talk over me. She let me speak, shake, cry, and then reminded me that every ounce of my truth had power. Rick pleaded not guilty. Of course he did. His lawyer painted him as a misunderstood man. A father figure. A hard worker. Respected by his community, they said. But the evidence didn't lie. The court saw the recordings. They saw the drive, the cloud backups, the timelines. They read every message, saw every timestamp, watched the videos that made even the judge's face tighten. The prosecutors didn't have to stretch. The story told itself. But in court, stories are nothing without testimony. The day I stood on that stand, I thought I would break. The room was cold. Too many eyes. Rick sat 10 feet away, still dressed in a button-down shirt like he was someone respectable. But when they asked me to speak, to tell my story under oath, I didn't flinch. I told them everything. Not just the facts. The nights. The moments. The aftermath. I spoke the words I once believed would kill me. I told them about the way he invaded not just my body, but my mind. About the nights I watched my door like a hawk, afraid to sleep. About the years I wore baggy clothes and silence like armor. About how I smiled through school, through birthdays, through everything, while screaming on the inside. And when I looked up, the jury was still. One woman was crying. Rick didn't smirk this time. He looked human. Small. Afraid. It should have made me feel powerful. But power didn't come in that moment. It came later, when I walked off the stand, when the door closed behind me, when I realized I never had to speak to him again. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The internet followed every moment. People started sending letters. Survivors. Women who had never told their stories. Men who said they were believed for the first time because of what I shared. One girl messaged me. I never thought I'd survive. But I saw your video. And now I'm getting help. You saved me. I didn't know how to respond. But I cried for her. For both of us. When the verdict came, the courtroom was packed. I held my breath. Guilty on all counts. I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I closed my eyes and whispered, "It's over." But it wasn't really over. Because healing doesn't wait for a verdict. It starts with truth. And I had only just begun telling mine. After the trial, I started speaking more publicly, but on my own terms. Podcasts. Panels. Anonymous interviews. My voice, filtered through courage and clarity. I didn't want fame. I wanted noise. Loud, undeniable noise that made people pay attention. The YouTube channel that started it all became something more. A place for stories. I gave it a name. Unshuttered. It wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to anyone who had been silenced. We posted survivor stories, narrated anonymously, with care. We didn't chase shock. We chased truth. And it grew. Sponsors. Partnerships. Legal aid referrals. Counselors volunteered their time. Viewers funded safe house initiatives. What started as revenge turned into a ripple of healing. One day, months after the sentencing, I got a letter. No return address. Just a single sheet of paper inside. It said, "You destroyed me. I hope you're proud." There was no signature. But I knew the handwriting. I didn't keep the letter. I burned it. I didn't report it either. Because he wasn't my threat anymore. His words were ashes, like everything else he tried to use to control me. My mother never apologized. She moved out. Went to live with her sister. Occasionally she sent short texts, "Hope you're okay." I didn't answer most of them. I didn't have hate left in me, just distance. Boundaries. Peace. Some days, I grieved her. Not because she was gone, but because she chose him. Because she let herself look away for so long. But grieving her was better than hating her. It meant I was letting go. I got a tattoo. A feather, mid-burn, mid-flight. It's not pretty. It's raw. Scorched. But it's real. And it's mine. People often ask if I'm okay now. That word, okay, is a lie we tell ourselves to feel finished. But healing isn't a finish line. It's a road with no map. Some days I still wake up sweating. Some nights I leave the light on. But I'm here. I'm speaking. I'm no longer a secret. And that, to me, is power. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the video release, I posted a new message. To anyone who still doubts their voice matters, let this be proof that it does. I was afraid for years. But not anymore. And if you're not ready yet, that's okay. Just promise me, someday, when you're ready, you'll burn the cage. Let the world hear you roar. The comments poured in. But there was one I'll never forget. Because of you, I told the truth. I'm free now. Thank you, Amara. That's when I knew. This wasn't just revenge. It was rebirth.